Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion. And the Lucknow Supergiants have beaten the Delhi Capitals by 6 wickets. So before I continue with this video, I'd like to talk about something which I mentioned in my last video. And I know this may not have really come off that way, but I just want to clarify again. I don't have anything against Fabian Allen, and I think it should go without saying, because after the Mumbai Indians loss against the Rajasthan Royals, Aki said that he should be included in the 11. And the reason why I'd said that he couldn't, or rather, Mumbai Indians wouldn't really want to make that change is because with you saw with what you get with Daniel Sam, especially with the two overs that he bowls up front, he does get some sort of swing. And if you saw in the previous game, they could bowl Basil Thampi and Daniel Sams, and so they could bowl Mills and Bumrah. They could reserve their overs more for the end. So with Fabian Allen, him also being a fairly work in progress bowler, yes, you could say he's the second spinner. He would serve as a second spinner, but even then, he wouldn't really be able to bowl 4 overs consistently, I would think. He'd provide more in the batting, but certainly in the bowling. With Mumbai Indians also liking to go with really strike with pace quite a lot of the time, and they only play one wrist spinner in the 11 in Murugan Ashwin. So that's the reason why, for me, I just thought that they wouldn't really want to make that change anyway, as much as Daniel Sams was going for runs. But I think that they should still, and maybe they would make that change just because of the fact that you could say they've got 3 paces, maybe they could get a second spinner, and 2, the runs that Daniel Sams has been giving in 2 out of these 3 games, you'd think that Fabian Allen, as long as he doesn't give those runs, would be an improvement. But yeah, he's still a very good player, and I just want to clarify on that. And the Supergiants winning this game by 6 wickets. And they won because of an outstanding innings by Quinton de Kock. I mean, for both innings, it really took one player who looked like he was batting on a different surface to the others in general, especially in the first innings, I'm pretty sure. His innings set up the foundation for them to then get to 149 for 3, with the other players struggling for their timing. And in this innings, the Delhi Capitals pretty much had a hold on the run rate apart from the Andrik Nokia overs. So if Quinton de Kock hadn't scored that 80 or 52, even if he had got out for a slightly lower score, with the likes of KL Rahul and Evan Lewis struggling to get those strike rates, I think that Lucknow Supergiants would have found it a bit more difficult to get this total. And even then, you would say if Mustafizur Rahman hadn't bowled that slot ball, which went for 6, hit by Kunal Pandya, it would have still been in the Delhi Capitals' favour at that point in time, after a few deliveries of no boundaries. So again, that's just showed how important Quinton de Kock's innings was, and yeah, because he played that knock, the Supergiants managing to win this game by 6 wickets. So regarding the starting 11s of both teams, 2 changes for the Capitals: David Warner in for Tim Seifert, and Mustafizur Rahman in for Khalil Ahmed, who had bowled well in his first 2 games. So I guess you could say it was a bit unlucky on them, but I don't think Mitchell Marsh is going to play a part in this tournament. So that gave them an option to play an extra overseas fast bowler, which even then, I know Nokia had an off day today, but that attack looks really good. And for the Lucknow Supergiants, 1 change with Krishnappa Gautam playing for Manish Pandey. And I think what this will do is, yes, Badoni batted at number 6 today, but I think he's shown that he scored that 54 in the first game, but then he's also played these quick fire innings. And if he can really get going fairly quickly, what happens is, like today, the opening partnership more often than not will get a decent give a decent platform. If Manish Pandey walks out to bat in like the 10th over or so, and he's still a very good player, but if he just takes a bit of time to get going, then you could just maximize that total, especially with the other players that will be left to bat in the lineup. So if Badoni plays at, I know he batted at number 6, but wherever he bats in the order, he will be able to get going fairly quickly. And in this case, he hit a 4 and a 6 in his first 3 deliveries, and the only 3 deliveries that he faced. So I think it will give him more of an exposure as well, and will if the openers get quite a bit of a partnership, every player that has batting ability and to come after those openers will be able to go from almost ball 1. So that's on their changes. And the Supergiants won the toss and chose to bowl first. And in the opening partnership for the Capitals, there was only one aggressor, Prithvi Shaw, an excellent 61 of 34. The primary areas of scoring were through point, through mid-wicket, and through extra cover. And yeah, he played really well. And especially after the, I think 3 runs were got off the first ball of the match after hitting a delivery from Jason Holder through mid-wicket. The boundary was, 1 run was saved in the end because of Andrew Ty's great effort on the boundary. And the place where I actually think, apart from that though, you could say the Supergiants had, in their first 2 overs, not really allowed the situation to get away from them. And the over which I thought Prithvi Shaw went on his way was the over of, really got on his way, was the over of Avesh Khan. None for 13 in his first over, and really he only bought 3 overs of his 4 over quota today. None for 32 in his 3 overs. And I think we've seen him for 4 games now in this tournament, and even though he got 4 for 24 in the previous game, let's be honest, was it really 4 for 24 bowling? I mean, I've gone through what I thought of the 4 for 24 when reviewing that game, but we haven't, in terms of quality of bowling, we've seen it at times, like the last over today, he was really good apart from 1 full toss, but we've generally, he hasn't really shown that quality of bowling at quite a few times, even though you could say 2 for 38 in 4 overs against CSK after conceding 200 plus runs. You could say, well, that wasn't too bad of an effort on paper. 4 for 24 looks really good on paper. You'd still say as far as quality of bowling hasn't been quite up there, but I'm sure he will get into this to his stride. And luckily for the Supergiants, Prithvi Shaw was dismissed off the bowling of Krishnappa Gautam, caught behind and off his bowling. So after that, they could really get a reset with David Warner, partly because I think of the strike deprivation. He was struggling to really get the runs at the strike rates that he would have liked to go at. And in the end, if you're looking at the third, in terms of the partnership for the second wicket, it wasn't too many. But I'm going to talk about David Warner and Rovman Powell's innings, because those two, if you combine their scores, it's 7 of 22. And also with the Delhi Capitals only managing to get 19 runs of the last 3 overs, you combine those things together and you think they could have got 10 or 15 runs more in the end than 149. And yeah, those two's innings really played into the Lucknow Supergiants' hands after Prithvi Shaw really getting such a quick start. And David Warner 4 of 12 being dismissed off a googly by Ravi Bishnoi, being caught at backward point. And another wicket off a googly for Bishnoi in the wicket of Rovman Powell, trying to slog him over probably long on and being bowled in the end. So Ravi Bishnoi once again outstanding. And I think if you're looking at the spinners of the tournament so far, in my view, yes, there have been outstanding ones like Narines, etc. But I'm saying Ravi Bishnoi and Rahul Chahar for me they've effectively not had an off game at all. At least Ravi Bishnoi had an off game in the first game in his last 2 overs. But apart from that, he's been excellent. Rahul Chahar hasn't had an off game at all in his first 3 games. So they've probably been the spinners of the tournament, in my view. And yeah, I think that getting those wickets, and that too with these destructive players like Warner and Powell, taking a lot of deliveries to score 4 and 3 runs respectively, yeah, really put the Lucknow Supergiants in control. They were in control of this middle phase, really. After the power play, only 5.22 was the scoring rate, 47 for 3 in the next 8 overs. And it was actually a weird map, because you got 52 without loss after the first 6, then 47 for 3 in the next 8 overs, and the last 4 overs went from 16 to 20. It went for 40 runs, and even then that was pretty much because of one big over that Rishabh Pant got off Andrew Ty. So again, the innings, you could say they could have got a few more runs if Warner and Powell as rather scored, let's say 4 of 6 rather than 4 of 12, and if they had got a bit more than 19 of the last 3 overs, although the Lucknow Supergiants did bowl really well in the last 3. So that was his innings. And as I said, with Andrew Ty bowling none for 10 in his first 2 overs, he went really well in his first 2. And if had his 18-run over not been there, then they would have struggled to get to this 149. So I really think that overall, a very good effort from the Lucknow Supergiants after Prithvi Shaw's innings. They're really owning that middle phase to make sure that the target would be limited, as well as bowling some 3 good overs at the end. And on Andrew Tyler, I mean, none for 10 in his first 2, then goes for runs in his third over, and once again doesn't bowl at the death because Jason Holder bowled 2 overs at the death and Avesh Khan bowled 1. So if you've got Andrew Ty as a death bowler on the side, but if you're not going to bowl him at the true death overs, let's say, then I still think this new ball bowling in terms of the seamers looks a bit weak without Dushmantha Chamira on the side. If you bowl him 4 overs up front, I think that it will really maximize his output. And also, I think that with maximizing Chamira's output, I think that you'll get more with him bowling with the new ball than you'll get with Ty bowling at the death. So that's just my view. And yeah, I still think that they should make that change. And as I've said before, I know Evan Lewis won them a game against CSK, along with Bishnois too for 24, of course. But really, that chase was because of Evan Lewis, you could say. But I still think Marcus Stoinis should be in this 11 because he gives that extra bowling option. And I think this team does need those extra bowling options. You've got Jason Holder, then Krunal Pandya, Krishna Bhagavatam played this game, Avesh Khan. I mean, it's a good attack, but I'm saying that at times, if a few bowlers go for runs, it can look a bit thin. So I think Marcus Stoinis in the side, it would not hurt to have him in the side at all with his batting and his bowling. So that's a change which I still think that they should make. And so now the Lucknow Supergiants innings. You still thought the Delhi Capitals could defend the score if they bowled well. There was dew, yes, but I actually think that they've really coped well with it. You could say apart from one bowler, everyone I thought was outstanding. And the opening partnership was a fairly... It started off sedately with, I would say, the acceleration starting in the 3rd over or so, but then the over which really set them off was the Andrik Nokia over. And until then, 26 without loss in 4 overs. You could say Delhi weren't really hurt too much. And there was the first delivery from Nokia went for 4 through extra cover. And then to drive straight down the ground through mid-off for 4. And then a trademark Quinton de Kock pick-up shot over square leg for 6. So 19 runs off his first over. And he hasn't bowled for a long time. He would have been rusty. And it's really something, this kind of an over, it's something that we wouldn't have really expected from a bowler like Nokia. And for his own standards, you could say he wasn't bowling as quick as he usually would. He got the fastest delivery award, 144, which is one of the 2 deliveries that were hit down the ground for 4. So he wouldn't have really been too happy with that award, considering how things went for him today. This is probably the worst that he would have bowled in a professional cricket game. But again, he hasn't bowled for too long. Maybe the dew was affecting the grip on the ball, which resulted in the 2 beamers. But yeah, I think he didn't have a great day today, but I'm sure he is a brilliant bowler and I'm sure he'll come back. And that over was really important. In fact, both his overs, his 14 balls that he bowled were really important because apart from him, no one else really gave that impetus to the Lucknow Supergiants at all. And with KL Rahul in the end getting out of Kuldeep Yadav for 24 of 25, and that too, the only shot of real aggression that was there was the first ball of Kuldeep Yadav's quota, which was a drag down, pulled over mid wicket for 6. So apart from that, it was a fairly sedate innings from him, and it really relied on the runs Quinton de Kock got off Andrik Nokia. And he also hit, I think, one reverse sweep of Akshar Patel. But mostly, even for Quinton de Kock, his strike rate was made up quite a bit by the runs that he got off Andrik Nokia. And yeah, that really inflated their total. That it meant that they didn't really have to rush at all, because even though the good overs were there from the Delhi Capitals, they still got that kind of an impetus from Nokia. And the first wicket fell of the KL Rahul was dismissed off Kuldeep Yadav. And after that, you could say with a new batsman coming in, I like the Delhi Capitals innings. You would have thought that if it is still a tough pitch to bat on, and if they could get some dot balls, then who knows what could happen. And with Evan Lewis, 5 of 13 for him, and I thought Lalit Yadav was outstanding. I mean, I'd never seen him bowl before, and I definitely didn't think coming into this game that they would bowl him for 4 overs. You could say playing the third spinner for the Lucknow Supergiants works in their favour, with 1 for 23 from Krishnappa Gautam, Ravi Bishnoi 2 for 22, and Krunal Pandya none for 12 in his 2 overs. And for the most part, especially for the finger spinners, there wasn't really much turn on offer, but there was a bit of grip in the surface, especially when you kind of bowled it at above 90 kilometers per hour, just around off stump. There wasn't much chance of you going for runs. And that's why Lalit Yadav, with the important wicket of Evan Lewis, who can really take apart bowling attacks, 1 for 21 in his 4, I thought he was outstanding. And because of that, after Evan Lewis getting out as well, the chase was still in the Lucknow Supergiants' hands, but it was pretty much all on Quinton de Kock. And he did get a few boundaries to keep things going. And really, after he got out, you could say, was when Delhi Capitals, in the end, almost pulled it back in their favour. And I will get to that in a bit. But Anik Nokia, after his second beamer, Kuldeep Yadav had to bowl the last 4 balls. It went for 9 runs in 4 balls, but also 1 wicket. So you could say, even though those 4 deliveries went for 9 runs, and I think they kind of ruined Kuldeep Yadav's figures a bit, because he was on 1 for 22 off his 3 overs. And I think at that point, when they were getting closer to the total, with the run rate still being in control, but it was at that situation where you thought if they really get some runs off a few deliveries, then it would be even more in the batting side's control. So 9 runs off 4 balls, but then the important wicket of Quinton de Kock, which made this game which made this game really interesting at that point, because Krunal Pandya and Deepak Hooda, I think for about 10 to 14 balls or so, they hadn't really got a boundary at all. And at one point, they needed 18 off 11 balls. And the time when I thought, once again, the momentum swung back to the Lucknow Supergiants was when Mustafizur Rahman bowled one in the slot to Krunal Pandya, which he hit over long on for 6. After that, you still thought that you then thought it was going to be the Lucknow Supergiants' game. Delhi did still give a good fight, with Shardul Thakur having 5 to defend in the last over, getting a wicket off his second ball. But Ayush Bardoni, once again, 10 off 3 for him, made use of a full toss going back in his crease for a second delivery, and then hitting a 6 over just wide of long off to finish the game. So once again, a win for the Lucknow Supergiants. In the first 4 games, they've won 3, and they probably should have won all 4, considering in the first game, after having the Gujarat Titans 78 for 4, the bowling did fall off a bit. And they also, I would think, they won a game which they probably should have lost in the last game against SRH. So that would also give them a lot of confidence. And yeah, they really won 3, lost 1. The Lucknow Supergiants, they look a really good side on paper. So I'm not really surprised that they're in this position. But yeah, they'll be really happy with their first 4 games. And with how difficult Delhi made it for the Lucknow Supergiants, especially towards the end, I mean, Delhi would be disappointed in some ways, considering you've got David Warner and Rovman Powell's knocks of overall combined 7 of 22. Then you've got the fact that they got 19 runs of the last 3 overs, albeit of good bowling. And if they hadn't got the 18 runs of Andrew Tyes over, the score could have been even less. Also, with their bowling, apart from Anik Nokia in the rare off day that he's had in I don't know how long, then that was the only real impetus for the opposition, for them to get quick runs to get towards his total. And so I think parts of this game really show why, even though Delhi are 1-1, lost 2, I'm not too worried about them, especially the bowling looks really strong. The batting, however, Rovman Powell has to come to the party. I think that in his first 3 games, they would have probably wanted a bit more from him. Also, what you've got, Prithvi Shaw, David Warner, Rishabh Pant, there seems to be way too much onus on these 3 to fire, since David Warner's also in the side as well. He's going to have to fire. And I think that there are three players you could say in this lineup that they would have had in the previous 2 seasons that would have boosted it quite a lot. Shreyas Iyer, Marcus Stoinis, and Shimon Hetmyer. And they would have been, especially with Mumbai and Delhi, there was pretty much no option for them but to be weaker than they were before. And despite the fact that the Delhi Capitals still have a good team, I think they have a bit more vulnerability in their batting, because you've got the likes of Shimon Hetmyer, who would have given them the finishing kicks just like he's doing for the Rajasthan Royals this season. You have Lalit Yadav, Akshar Patel, Shardul Thakur. So you still have batting there, but certainly you don't have someone like as far as the recognised batsmen are concerned, you don't know how often Lalit Yadav is going to give you those knocks, especially, let's say, if you don't have too much time left. But even then, they have Akshar Patel and Shardul Thakur, so they will be able to give them something. There's a bit more vulnerability in the batting this year, and Prithvi Shaw is going to have a really good season. In the previous seasons, he was bolstered by the fact that the likes of Dhawan and Shreyas Iyer were there. And so he had a very good season last time, but again, it's been a bit of a up and down road for him, and he could kind of afford that to be the case because of the personnel he had around him. This season, though, he's going to have a really good season because the batting seems a bit more vulnerable, but the bowling seems really good. So I'm not really worried about either of these sides. They are two of the better sides in this competition. And yeah, so let's see where they go in this tournament. And tomorrow's game being the Punjab Kings versus the Gujarat Titans. I'm going to see where that game is taking place. It's in the Brabant Stadium. And if there are runs involved, I think that the Gujarat Titans will probably be looking to bat first. I still think there's a fragility about their batting lineup, and for me, if Shubman Gill, Matthew Wade and Hardik Pandya don't, at least two of those three don't fight to set that platform, they are in a bit of trouble. But if they do, and if they get to a competitive total on that surface, then they've got the bowling to defend it, and that's the reason why with by far the best bowling attack in the competition, and a power pack batting lineup for Punjab as well. Let's see what they'll do. I think that Johnny Bairstow is far too good to be sitting on the bench. Will they give Rajapaksa another go, or will they put Bairstow on the side? I don't think you can blame them for doing either of those two. So let's see how they go. Punjab will be confident after really defending that score in an outstanding way against CSK, I think, in the same surface. If there is that assistance for the bowlers, then both sides, certainly with Punjab will be bowling to a slightly frail batting lineup in the Gujarat Titans, and with the bowling of the Gujarat Titans, they would certainly be able to cause trouble to any batting lineup, no matter how power packed and good it is. So it will be an interesting game tomorrow, and yeah, I think that for both sides, they would probably want to be batting first and really setting a good total, especially for the Gujarat Titans. Their batting lineup is a bit frail, and if they have runs on the board, then I'm sure their attack will really, they would want to be in a case where they're defending quite a few runs on the board. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, please share the video with your friends. Remember, this is my opinion, what's yours?